All right. Good morning. So today I took NQ long, and I'm just gonna gauge what I was looking at. Um, First thing is I want to run through my checklist. So I have a few things to go through, right? Um, for instance, my checklist with just statistics, previous day's range. Um, so the daily candle, right? If we look at, since today's Monday, we would have to look at Friday's daily candle. It broke Thursday's high. Looking at this statistic, previous day's range, there's a 70% chance that the daily candle today is going to close green. By the time I was looking at price, which was around here, it was a red candle. Okay, so we had that in our favor. Then I also had marked out true day open, right? Um, True day open, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, just in general terms, true day open is a solid stat. As you can see, like the lowest percent chance is like 57% when it opens above um, on Mondays. But since it opened below, it's a 66% chance, still solid. So yeah, we had that marked out. And then obviously from, just last night, Sunday night, I had marked out my um, previous day's low, all-time highs, like any, high time frame um, highs and lows. So looking at the monthly, weekly, daily, I had those marked out. Then I marked out my previous sessions highs and lows, so London low, London high, Asia high, um, and then just looking at a volume profile. If we go here, right, this is kind of like the context I was building coming into the morning. Um, if you entered somewhere down here, I feel like that's valid. Um, Trying to look at like um, just gaps in general. I mean, technically we invalidated this, but we didn't get quite that much follow through with this gap right here. Um, and kind of respecting that area if you think about it, right? This 30-minute gap overlapping with the previous resistance area that we had broken through. Looks like we were holding it. So yeah, just um, cool. Yeah, we're gonna put it right there. Um, if you look at a session volume profile, from session reopen, right, to 9:25. If you go, especially if you go to the 5 minute, um, if you go to the not till 9:25, it looks like we got to the value area low. We failed to sustain below it, and we broke back above the value area low and the lower VWAP band of the overnight. Okay, and we put in an SMT while doing that. So we displaced and we actually held these gaps, which I believe was a 50-minute, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was a 50-minute gap. So we had quite a bit of context in terms of that, um, and we can do it like that, right? So we can have that much bit of context, and then coming, into open, right? Um, we're breaking above that VWAP, right? So I'm like, okay, I gotta wait and see what price does. I don't want to just jump in because I'm like, okay, I have my clear draws on liquidity, right? So do I have a clear draw on liquidity? Yes, all-time highs, Asia highs, true day open. So I'm like, okay, is order flow aligned with technicals? So far, yes. It looks like we're recovering from dipping into that volume area low. Um, Put in an SMT under there. So I'm thinking, okay, London low might actually be protected today, at least till we hit on all-time highs, or at least Asia high. Um, Maybe even true day open. But I'm like, okay, let's see what price does. And we had like a few intermediate highs, like this one right here, this one right here. So we had a few intermediate highs that we could respect. But as price was approaching there, we weren't getting that much of a reaction, and even getting into the London high. Because if you look at my position, it's actually like right at that London high. Um, the reasoning for that is once we actually put in this gap, I'm like, okay, once if we retest this, let's see if we invalidate it or if we respect it, right? And turns out we end up respecting it, right? We end up respecting it. We tap that overnight VWAP. So I'm like, okay, cool. This looks good for longs. In my head, I was thinking, if we respect this gap, we're gonna hold that overnight VWAP. We're gonna break through the point of control, and if you drag it to like here, it looks like it closed above that point of control. Barely, but it did. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is a good point to break. And then I just thought, we're going to get to true day open because of the stats. Since we're so close, we're going to get to it. And then obviously you want to see displacement through it. And then I think the next candle was a decent candle. The next one was pretty strong, if I'm not mistaken. So like at this point, this is where I trailed to break even because we hit Asia highs. And Asia, if you look at Asia highs, right, and you just measure from Asia highs to all-time highs, it's like a 12-point difference. Is it really worth? Is it really worth getting fully stopped out if you're 12 points off of your TP? 12 points isn't that much, like at all. It's not that much. So yeah, my thought process was like, okay, if we hold this gap and we hold this view up, we're gonna break through a point of control. We're gonna break through the upper band. So obviously, I want to watch if we do end up doing that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm like I was gonna be wrong pretty quick, in my opinion. Or I could have caught it early if I was just wrong. But at this point, I'm like, okay, it looks good. And then initially, I did trail to like here. I did trail my stop to that, but then it was okay. Hold on, this is a 5-minute gap. Also, we have that upper VWAP band, right? We have that upper VWAP band right there. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna trail like by a point or something like that. That's what I ended up where I ended up trailing. And I think my entry was like here. So yeah, I ended up trailing by 1 point or something like that, maybe. But yeah, my realized RR ended up being like 1.13 because I took a partial around here. I took a partial at around a 1-to-1, if I'm not mistaken. And then I ended up letting that runner go to all-time highs. And then we got a retrace, see how I tapped that upper VWAP band. It tapped that upper VWAP band, and it just continued higher. So like I liked how much buyers respected this. Looking at order flow, there was a few things that I could tell. Looking at order flow, whenever we tapped that VWAP band, it was an area where buyers had stepped in to break through. So like this area right here, buyers stepped in to break through and make new highs. So like this area, buyers stepped in, and I like that. I like to see how we had failed selling there. Had a bit of a CVD divergence. We also had a CVD divergence here down at this low with like I think it was this low maybe, but yeah, it was pretty cool to see that. I'm like, okay, cool. Once I saw that, and then I'm like, I just want to wait. It looks good now, but at this point, I'm pretty sure I trailed to here. I'm pretty sure. And then this is the wick that actually ended up getting me out of my position, because I traded M and Q, and when NQ actually ended up making equal highs here, I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable holding because it made equal highs with all-time highs, so that's kind of crazy how that happened. But this wick actually got me out of my position, and then if I stayed in, I would have been stopped out. But if you just held your stop loss at that break-even point originally, you would have been out. You could have trailed more aggressively, and yeah, I mean, you just look at what price is doing now, right? Maybe you could have waited for the IB break, You could have waited for maybe went to here, that 10:15 candle. So something like this, you could have targeted the point two. I could have had a better RR. I'm not gonna think too much about it because I feel like I did a good job in managing my position. I wanted to have a drawn liquidity as a target. I felt like I just wanted to be quick in and out. I wasn't confident in it being as clean as it was today. But yeah, you could have let this run. You could have let this run, and it would have been a nice RR. But yeah, it is what it is, and I think I did a good job trading today. You could have probably entered off of the retest of this 5 minute even, but yeah, you could have done that because we had equal highs here. They're probably oh yeah. You could have done this. You could have done this shit. Obviously, not the best RR here, but you could have done that. Maybe target the point four. Maybe target the point five if you want to be even greedier. But yeah, there is a lot of opportunity today, and I think we just had the right bias off the get go. And yeah, I mean, shit. Look at this move. We already made a 100-point move, so I think I did a good job in staying patient. I did a good job in knowing what I wanted to see and just having a clear idea of what I wanted my trade to look like. I wasn't really convinced about that 5 minute inversion if we did end up inversing this gap down here. But yeah, I like that we respected it, and then I was like, okay, if we respect this, we'll break through the POC, break through the upper view up band, break through the value area high, and then just looking at like here, right? We recovered from the value area low, and it just looked like we were gonna rebalance to that POC and that value area high. So, yeah, I think pretty solid day today, and I just did a good job at staying patient, having a clear bias, just clear thought process of what I wanted to see. I aligned my confluence as well, and if I even go through my checklist, right, is order flow aligned with technicals? I feel like it aligned pretty well, or I managed to align it in my head. I had a clear draw on liquidity. We were delivering from a 50-minute gap, then a 5 minute gap. So it's just a continuation trade, truly. Have we swept significant liquidity? We did at that time, sweep London highs. So my thought process was this is going to be a fail flip of London highs, which is when we hit an important or major liquidity pool, which is previous session highs, previous day highs, previous month's highs, previous week's highs, and stuff like that, highs and lows. But yeah, we ended up hitting that, and I'm like, okay, since we hit this, if we get a reversal of this, it's backed by something. But since we didn't, since we ended up respecting that gap, I'm like, okay, we're gonna fail flip this level. And then, do we have enough confluences to attempt to catch the bottom? I feel like I could have. And I say I could have because you could have gotten in closer to this wick. Because there was a CBD divergence here. I just didn't notice it at the time. I just feel like since there was also a CBD divergence at the highs, I wasn't convinced by the longs just yet. But yeah, anyways, other than that, should we wait for price to break through something or retest something first? I feel like we had already seen it break through the lower view up end, the overnight view up, and then waiting for that upper view up band, the POC break. I feel like that was part of the thought process of what I wanted to see within the trade playing out. And then yeah, are there equal highs or lows in our favor or against? There was, in the end there was, but I just didn't quite pay that much attention to it. I just had a fixed TP, had already taken partials, so it is what it is. It was still a solid day, 1.13 R, I believe. Was there an SMT in our favor or against? There was an SMT in our favor. There technically was also SMT against us. If you just look at, ES, um, by the time we had swept London highs, we were already above it. Um, like by the time NQ took it, ES was still well below it. And yeah, I believe that is all I can say. By the time, by the time NQ took Asia highs, ES was below it. So yeah, um, I believe that's it. There's not much to say. We did a good job. We had good risk management. We aligned our confluences. We had a lot of confluences in order for us to be able to take this trade, and I just feel like I did a good job in being objective about it. Um, just being clear about what I wanted to see, aligning technicals with order flow. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the trade recap for today. Gotta keep up the consistency. Gotta keep showing up. Uh, you know, been in kind of a slump. This was a good start to a new eval that I just started, so that's pretty awesome. But other than that, that's all I gotta say. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.